Good afternoon. Unfortunately, this is my third last keynote of the day. So I know how it's like, right? I'm sitting in front between you and your home, maybe. Okay, anyway, a little bit about myself. So this is also strange. This is also one of my very rare speaking engagement where I speak at a HR conference, which is my least, I normally speak at a technology conference, but this is my least preferred. I normally outsource this to someone at the office. But anyway, I will share a little bit about my personal experience as well. So we built, me and my team, we built our organization from a 3% startup, and now we are about 1,000 employees in 35 countries around the world. And I can tell you, the biggest challenge that we face is indeed HR, which I try to shy away from. So a lot of lesson learned in our journey as well, right? So before I go into the details, maybe I just run through about the company as well, and then I go through into the detail. Right, maybe I'll just talk a little bit about the company. What you can see on the screen is actually our footprint. As I mentioned earlier, we just turned 8. This is actually also my second speaking engagement today. We had our town hall in the morning as well, this morning, and it was a good one. We were just ranked first in the world for the second year running, and then we celebrated that this morning as well. And the key for us to be here is really about solving our people challenge within the organization, about building the team within the organization as well. So I will share as well about a lot of, being a startup, and then now where we are now as a scale up, this doesn't happen by chance. A lot of trial and error, a lot of learning, a lot of testing new ways. It doesn't work, and we do different thing again. So we sort of now begin to understand what worked and what didn't work. And the very first mantra internally that we had, now we use a different one, but the very first one is still very valid today, is that, every organization is all about creating value. We create value for our customers, right? So how do you actually create value, right? And then I always tell my team as well, right? It's all about building trust. Everything is about trust. So we create value by delivering. We build trust by delivering value, in other words, right? So that's how we started. But anyway, this is our footprint. We are a Malaysian company. We started in PJ. Now our HQ is in Cyberjaya. So what do? We are a DT Cube company, which is a drone tech, data tech, and digital transformation. I think the third one is the one that's perhaps very relevant here as well. And often I'm being asked, digital transformation, is it technology or is it people? I used to answer and say, of course it's technology. As it says, it's digital transformation. Then I begin to realize how wrong I was. It's not people, it's not technology at all. Technology is really the enabler. The key thing is actually people. Transforming people, getting people to get the buy-in to do any transformation whatsoever. That's the key to it, right? So what do? We are a DT Cube company. We are drone tech. So we use drone to fly and capture data. And we use data technology to provide analytics to our customer to deliver digital transformation. What do we define digital transformation as? Simple. It's solutions that make business sense. What are they? Solutions that make business sense are solutions that are faster, better, cheaper, and safer. That's what every organizations are looking for. How can they do things better? How can they actually save costs at the same time? And the enabler, again, is people. That's why I agreed to speak at this conference, to share this component. So what you can see here, for example, in agriculture, again, very traditional industry, but using our technology, we are able to, I'll just skip straight to point number 2. We increased 67% of the crop yield for our customers. So that's huge. For all you durian fan out there, right? It was also very exciting. Our first year of operation, we increased yield by 30% for durian. So I've got a lot of durian in my office because our customers were very happy with our work. So they always send durian to our place. It smells a little bit, but it's nice. Okay, and of course, the other things that we do is actually security, for example, right? And the country, Malaysia, for example, we lose about 8 billion every single year. huge amount of money at the border. All right, so we developed technology that allow us to allow the country to help monitor the situation. Of course, here a lot of trust involved here as well, because even the data that we use, or rather that we generate, let me just go back to the data that we generate are very, very confidential data. A lot of our clients' data that we work, and you can see here, this is actually a project in Australia, the largest digital transformation project in Australia. So a lot of our work involves critical assets for our customer. And we are not even allowed to bring that data out of the shores of the country, of the region. So if we operate in EU, the data stays in EU. When we operate in Australia, data stays in Australia. There's a lot of trust here. There's a lot of trust at stake here. You know, if the client do not trust our operation, we will not be appointed. We will not even qualify for the work. How do we address this? Right? So for example, in this case, the very first experience that we had in this is actually in 2017. Before that, from 2015 to 17, we were operating in Malaysia. When we went to Australia in 2017, the first question was, hey, yeah, we like your solution, mate, but the data cannot leave Australia, right? So they said, okay, maybe we'll try and bring our team over here, but the cost is going to be exorbitant. Then we started to use AWS, we use Amazon, right? And we use Australian instead. So the data stays in Australia, and they have all the audit trail as well. They know that we operate, we are allowed to have access, but we cannot bring it down. We cannot download. And with all the audit trail in place, we were able to qualify. So the main thing here is that we also learn as we go along the importance of trust in this digital environment. So that's critical infrastructure. Now we are operating around the world. And speaking of trust as well, one of our operations was in Russia. We were operating in Russia, but unfortunately, because of the war in Ukraine, we had to close our office. Again, a trust issue, right? The team that we work with in Australia, in Moscow, are really people like you and me. You know, we want to make decent living, a trustworthy person, but because trust became a question, right? And there's a pressure from America as well, even pressure from our stakeholders, even pressure from our investors. Kamarul, please remove, your office in Moscow. You're going to get all of us into trouble as well. So we had to exit Russia as well, which is a shame. All right. So trust is everything. Another interesting thing. Today, when you talk about logistics, you use helicopters, or you use big cargo plane, or you use lorries, trucks, ships, and all that, right? So we are about to transform this industry. We use big, oversized drone that can carry 250 kilograms. I mean, this is drone. I'm sure most of you knows how drones look like. Normally, it's very small. This is really, really big drone that can, lift a quarter ton, and then save cost by 50% compared to the traditional method. That's digital transformation. Allow you to even transport this very, very quickly. Today, for example, for oil and gas company, if they wanted to get things shipped from shore to their platform, it will take them at least 1 hour, if it is an emergency procurement, before you can get the helicopter to even just take off. With this kind of system, 5 minutes, we can just fly as well. So again, transformation. How do we make this happen? We have to go through and pass a lot of regulatory issues as well. We need to get people to trust in this technology. Guess what? It has taken us 5 years just to gain that trust. Engagement with all the stakeholders and all that before this kind of technology can happen. Right, so that's what we do. So I think, again, as a backdrop to this, is that it's all about trust is very, very important, especially when we are building new things. Especially people are very afraid of what they don't understand. Today we are talking about digital, but even in the old days, I always share this story. Right, every time people tell me, hey, Kamarul, how are you going to, use a drone, oversized drone to carry passenger and to carry goods? How would people trust you, right? And then nobody going to jump into your mode of transportation. Now, people will be scared to get into a drone and to bring you from your home to the airport, to your workplace or whatever, right? I mean, it's, again, a trust issue. So I always tell them the same story. In the 1700s, right, when there was gold rush happening in America, People from Europe would land in the eastern seaboard, and then they wanted to go to the western seaboard, and it will take them 2 months riding horses. Then when Industrial Revolution 1 happened, then people have train, latest technology, train, that can travel at 40 kilometers an hour, right? You know what? When they built all those, and it cost them a lot as well at that time, when they built those lines from eastern seaboard to go to the western seaboard, there was a picket. Luckily, at that time, they don't have social media, so the voice wasn't so loud, right? Basically, what they're saying is that, no, you can't travel on those trains because you will die. As you get into the carriage, because you are traveling faster than the horse, the air will get sucked out from the train and you'll die. So the same thing happened today as well. People are just scared of what they don't understand, right? So that's, again, the same challenge is in the digital industry as well. So when we want to drive innovation in the digital era, those that can adapt, those that can overcome these challenges are the ones that will thrive. So innovation and technology is just one thing, but how do you execute it? How do you make it happen is the key thing. So when it comes to innovation, also there's a lot of risk. I mean, we must also have the right risk appetite to pursue these opportunities, right? If, for example, if we were to look at the American or the European tech companies, for example, because or Japanese, let me use Japanese as an example. So Japanese are very, very long-term. Returns are very long-term, and then they always look at the value of deep tech. So you spend time, you build technology, it will take 5 years, 8 years for technology to mature, and then that's fine. Nobody really bothers. But in some other region, it's all about quick return. It's about, hey, I want to see returns in 2 years. I want to see return in 3 years, right? So how then you gain that trust? Again, how do you can change the mindset of your stakeholders before you can actually go into this space, right? So in other words, managing risk is one of the biggest factor as well here. Oftentimes, we could not and we shouldn't take corners. There's plenty of example where we take corners in building or delivering digital transformation, and we'll end up with a disaster, right? So prioritize trust is the key thing when it comes to doing transformation project. There's a definition of digital trust. You all can read that. But again, I mean, we've gone through this ourselves. Without solving this challenge, we would not be able to grow. If we fail to do this, what are the kind of consequences can we expect? Losing customers. If I were to turn back the clock, as I mentioned earlier, our very first Australian project, say, hey, data doesn't leave our shores. You even have to put in an AI system that when our drones are flying, you want to automatically blur out the faces. You want to automatically blur out any number plate of vehicles that you capture with your drones accidentally as you were capturing our data. That was one of their biggest requirements. Right? So it's a big deal, right? Because of privacy is very, very important. So the option was for us to develop those technology, right? And developing those technology took us about 6 months. And we knew some people actually fake it. So they developed, we have our drones, and our drone will actually, it will automatically blur the number and all that. And they got caught. They got caught because a client normally, in this situation, they give it to 3 companies. In the end, the other 2 were disqualified, and we were allowed to. We were the last one to go in because we decided, let's not risk it. Let us build this and actually deliver something that really is functional for that customers as well. So loss of customers is very, very important. Cybersecurity incident is something that we shouldn't discount. It's a big possibility. A big risk is happening everywhere as well. As simple as something that I personally experienced, even our Instagram was hacked. I mean, it's not a big deal for the company, but it was hacked before the pandemic, about 3 years ago, and we were asked ransom of $10 million, which is, of course, ridiculous. Nobody's going to pay for that, right? But the damage was real. Because they were then trying to ride on our reputation. They used our Instagram to start selling fake Bitcoin. So a few people were actually caught. A few people actually subscribed to them, send them money and all that. So this digital trust issue is looking after the cybersecurity is actually a very, very serious matter that we need to overcome. I already talked about privacy breaches, number 3. Reputation. When I talk about the Instagram hack that happens to us, then they started to post all of this Bitcoin stuff and all that. So it's a big deal. So we actually have to put out our PR and get a lot of help. It incurs a lot of cost as well to solve those problems. So reputation issue, protecting reputation. I mean, I really talked about this as well, right? You have to get reputation, your reputation with your life is the most important thing as well. So that's some of the consequences of not taking care of our digital trust, right? Okay. So some of the transformation failures. This is proven, you can read about it, Hershey's, because they wanted to accelerate their transformation, resulted in more than 100 million orders not fulfilled. So you cannot rush transformation. You have to do it in the right way. HP, I mean, who would have thought HP would falter in this as well, right? 20% of the orders remain unfulfilled. Or rather, at that time, they couldn't fulfill because they were rushing this, and as a result, couldn't deliver the work. Right? So let's just go back to what I mentioned earlier. Digital transformation, is it talent or is it technology? And it's proven in a study by Harvard, I think it was Harvard Business Review. Yeah, 70% of all digital transformation fails to meet its objective. 70. So it's a very, very big number. In fact, out of 1.3 trillion transformation project, 900 billion, I think, 900 billion actually goes to waste. So digital trust, doing the right thing is very, very important. All right, so how do we build trust? A culture of trust within an organization is the most important thing. Trust goes both ways, right? It's all interconnected. You, your employee, your customers, your stakeholders and everything, right? So it's an interconnected network of trust building that we need to take care of. And then even our growth is also contingent of us protecting that trust as well, right? And then even when we invest in technology, when we invest in partnership, invest in anything whatsoever to drive our growth, we must invest in technology that we can trust. Okay? So how do you build culture of trust? I think I'll just skip this and I'll go into, there's some statistics there. I want to talk about how we create that culture of trust in our organization. I'll just go to my last page, right? So this is a formula that we have at our organization. How do we create trust? How do we create value? So alpha is, the first one is actually our formula for value creation. Value creation, of course, comes with trust, right? I talk about DT3, which is what we do. DT3 is our drone tech, data tech, and digital transformation. And we always require continuous improvement, or we always must have a mindset of change with our people as well. And that is where the WC4 stands. What does WC4 stands for? It's world class. From day one, we have a strategy of trying to build world-class organization within it. Remember, we are a very young organization. 3 years ago, the average age of the organization is like 28. Now it's getting longer. We're getting older. Because in the beginning, we hire people that we can afford. Today, we hire the best people in the industry, right? And then we have a good mix as well. Therein lies all these various cultural challenges as well. People of very diverse kind of experience, culture, and all that. So we came up with this formula to build this culture of trust within this organization as well. So WC4 is that we set up a strategy of how can we change the mindset of our people so that we can be a world-class organization. So we had 4 pillars. Again, I will not go into detail. It's just high level. So that's why it's WC4. The first pillar is how do we make sure that our people do things right? The second pillar is that how do we make sure that everything do the right thing? I mean, all of you HR practitioners would be familiar with this as well, right? And the third one is shapeshifter, innovation, changing things. How do we drive that culture of innovation within the organization? Again, I don't have time to go into detail, but we have a strategy, we have a clear framework to drive change within our people as well. This is why we do not penalize failure. We encourage experimentation. We encourage people to think differently. How do we do things? How do we, we can't, in fact, Einstein once said, right? We can't solve the problem that we have today using the same mindset that created it in the first place. So if we want to solve a problem, we have to think differently, right? So that's the culture that we inculcate in our organization, SS, shapeshifter. Last but not least, every world-class organization would have its own identity. All right? Everybody knows IKEA, for example. IKEA is, and this is trust. This is brand trust that IKEA already built, right? They build themselves, quality is decent, price is reasonable. So it's a clear articulation, right? And that's why people go there in droves, because they know what to expect. People also buy Toyota cars because it's super reliable. I still have a Toyota car that is about 11 years old, and I still can use it if I wanted to, right? I have an old Velfire that's still running today if I wanted to use it. Of course, I don't use it anymore, but Toyota cars are super reliable, right? So that's what it is. That's that unique identity that every world-class organization actually have, right? So likewise, any organization need to build that identity. And of course, again, underlying all of this is really about trust. How do you deliver that trust to your customer? So at Aerodyne, that trust comes from us being an entity or an organization that deliver things with NF and DJD. What does it mean? No fuss, no drama, just deliver. So thank you very much.